Never say anything that you wouldn't want in showing up in court.
I'm so used to just like furiously texting any thought I have to someone.
Yep.
I think I started thinking about this because I had a dream last night where there was some situation where like I had maybe done something wrong and they had to go through all my messages and I was like, shit. It's not going to be a good character profile.
Can we just get everyone's fresh start? They wipe everybody's slate clean. It's like, all right, we're just getting one do-over.
They're like, it says here that you stole a chapstick from Whole Foods on April 19 and you bragged about it to your friend.
I think I like don't even make jokes anymore because I'm like, oh, if that gets read.
It's no way to live in a connected society. Welcome back to Adam. We're reading chapter 4 today.
I felt like you were going somewhere with that.
As I went to check our Patreon, I saw our Patreon drop by $3 and I was devastated.
Wow. Grim.
I was going to retrieve the comments because, you know, we're doing comments now every week. It's just a way that we're elevating the Patreon content. So last week in the book, the grandparents got baptized. Yeah. Which, as Richard said, and I agree, this episode felt very roll credits to me, considering I thought the book was about baptizing his grandparents and finishing his mission. We all thought that. And I think it wouldn't have been a stretch for a normal writer to have, like, had that be the... But Jack has grander plans.
Jack does have bigger plans. He can't waste time.
It's like dive shallow and go wide.
It's like when you go to a really good restaurant and they bring out this dish and you're like, this is the best dinner I've ever had, and they're like, that's just the appetizer, and you're like, what?
I think it's important that we keep beating the dead cannoli. Jane said, cannoli in a... Because remember, his grandparents gave him cannoli in a plastic box at the airport. Jane said, cannoli in a plastic box wouldn't get melted and runny, because that was my assumption in last week's episode. Uh-huh. But the shells wouldn't be at optimum crispiness. Also, you know, which I could totally see now that I think about it. Like, duh, Sam.
We should celebrate with some cannoli like
I was
last
thinking
episode.
That. I'm like, where can we get vegan cannoli? Or, I think we should get vegan tiramisu, because it's A, easier to find in Salt Lake City, and B... I love tiramisu.
Yeah, tiramisu is great.
Also, you need special equipment to fry cannoli shells. Ideally, short lengths of bamboo rods, which my noni used. I just love, like, learning as much about cannoli as we can, so we can be like, Jack doesn't know shit about the subject. Write what you know, Jack.
This is post-Google writing. He could have looked that up.
Also, remember last week on the episode we talked about how women tend to do the emotional labor of keeping up with missionary children. Mm-hmm. Though I would argue that that's such a traumatic experience. I feel like you need everyone in the family, but at least both parents, like regularly sending as much support and love as you can give. Anyway, Peter said, my mum would send me a letter a week, a package a month, and would wait by the computer to be on when I would email so we could instant message each other. And she was part of missionary mum blogs for all of her missionaries, 5 elders and 1 sister, and would watch for any pics or mentions of her missionary. I think my dad would maybe send a note in the Christmas package. Why is that so true to everyone's experience?
That's the way God set it up. Men are supposed to be out working. They don't have time to be connecting with their children.
Absolutely not. Jennifer said this is my favorite book club.
Oh,
obviously.
Mine too. Though I am joining a Bell Hooks reading book club.
When, where? 10 minutes before the sacrament meeting started, in which I was to report my mission, I shook hands with the bishopric and sat down on the stand, saving the seat next to the first counselor for the youth speaker. Again, just like so many boring... We don't care what seat you sat in because it's just like you... It's such a boring way to set a scene. Jack just does the most mundane details. And it's like, yeah, you're Mormon. We
know how it works. Everyone does it the same everywhere all the time.
So much minutia. My mum and dad and their parents and some uncles and aunts and a couple of my cousins filled up the first few rows at the front of the chapel.
My extended family. You gotta fill a whole book, you know?
And blank begat blank. Begat blank.
And it came to pass.
My dad, his dark hair splattered with grey, wearing a dark brown suit with brown tie, looked like your typical member of the Stake High Council, which he was. Gross. Ghastly. My mum looked very impressive too. She'd always been trim. The first way that he explains why a woman is impressive is because she was thin. That's her primary worth. Which is very much true to like the mainstream culture at the time. There was not like any like contrary messaging, you know, other than just like women should be thin. Mm-hmm. There was like, it was not acceptable. Just infuriating. She'd always been trim and still was. But after I got home from my mission, she reluctantly admitted that she now had to go to aerobics 3 times a week to maintain her weight.
Jack not mention a woman's weight challenge. Has he ever?
I know.
Why is that always commenting?
Also, it's like, maybe she doesn't have to go to aerobics 3 times a week to maintain her weight. Maybe if it's just like her body is becoming larger as she grows older, then that's a natural thing to happen and you don't have to...
And also, you should just be getting regular exercise. Like, just go do it. You should just go do aerobics.
Aerobics 3 times a week sounds so shit. Like, I hate aerobics. It's like a hit. I guess now we would call it HIIT. And I just miserable, like doing cardio 3 times a week. My mum, whose maiden name had been White, so this is Lara, grew up on a farm near Idaho Falls. So I spent part of each summer on the farm, working for my grandfather White. He was tall and strong, a simple man. Why is everyone in the book a stereotype? Like, everyone's just like, and this person was exactly how you'd expect them to be. Everyone was it's very, like,
Their name is literally White. In Idaho Falls.
With a Y, though.
Oh, which begs the question, why?
Do you know what I mean, though? Like, it's not common for writers to just have every single person be, like, a complete stereotype of who you'd expect that person to be, unless they're making a commentary on that.
Right, it's whereas like a Voltaire satire.
Yeah, or like a Stepford Wives situation.
Yeah.
But this is very much like Jack's little, like, and everyone was exactly how they should be.
Now that's what, like, good literature, like, Tolstoy is famous for creating really complex characters, and it's like, not only can you not have just, like, a really complicated character with, various motivations and complexity of thoughts and contradictions, it's like, they're just the most... like
they even look
one-dimensional
exactly
version.
Like the one, he was tall and strong, a simple man with a rural twang and his deep voice. He didn't say much, but what he said was worthwhile.
He had a piece of grass hanging out of his lip.
My grandmother White was still a powerhouse of energy and good health, and she attributed it all to homeopathic remedies. As a child, I learned quickly never to admit being sick in her presence because she had a herb for every complaint. Her other main characteristic was a love of learning. It was from her that my mum had learned to value education. It is pretty common for, like, Mormon grandmothers or mothers to be into a lot of naturopathic, a lot of alternative medicine, which I'm not inherently against, but I do think it ties in with, like, this distrust of intellectuals, aka doctors, like, for example, like, at this time, or in Jack's mind, I'm sure, like, mental health was still, like, not a thing, and psychiatrists were the devil, and just interesting. My parents on the Roberts side were also there. I remembered when I was a boy. Oh, so we're being introduced to Sam's parents here. Can't imagine what they'll be like.
Wait, haven't we met Sam's parents?
Oh yeah, duh. Sorry.
Can't wait to see what they'll be like this time around.
Can't wait to see no change. I remembered when I was a boy how happy they were to cater to my every wish. It was always fun staying at their house. They gave me almost anything I asked for.
I never saw my dad, ever.
If I wanted cake, my grandmother would bake it. If I wanted a toy, my grandfather would buy it. Such gender roles. My mum once asked them if they ever said no to me. They paused, smiled, and said, "Why, of course not. Why would we do that?" Okay, so Lara gives him everything he wants. We know that because remember the little train he said he was going to have her put food on. So it sounds like everyone in his life is giving him what he wants. But
except
maybe
his
Sam
dad,
doesn't.
which is attention.
Oh, so Sam, yeah, because he's not going to be on the mission anymore, Sam's coming back into the story. Thank God. Thank God. Just 2
Return
carbon
of the
copies.
King.
Can't wait to see, like, what, like, differences these 2 Spider-Men have in this book. Because, like, they are the same character. After 2 years of being away, I could see more clearly that all 4 of my grandparents were getting older. They walked a little slower, spent a little more time getting things done, but they kept going. In addition to my family, there were also a few friends from high school at the meeting. Some of them had also just returned from missions. I looked at what few notes I had written on a 3x5 card. For 3 days I had tried to prepare a talk, but had never decided for sure what to say. I couldn't bring myself to brag about any success I might have had, because I hated the way Elder Russell had boasted at Zone conferences, taking all the glory for himself, sometimes even forgetting to acknowledge Heavenly Father's help. Since I didn't want to talk about either my successes or my failures, there wasn't much left. A 12 or 13-year-old girl came and sat next to me. She had long blonde hair and blue eyes and was energetically chewing gum. "You giving a talk too?" I asked. She rolled her eyes. Duh. How Jack thinks 13-year-old girls act. "What's your name?" "Kiera. We moved next door to you just before you left on your mission." "Sorry, I didn't recognize you." "Well, that's nice, Kara." She shook her head. "It's not Kara. It's not Karen. It's not Tara. It's not Carolyn. It's key, like a key you open a door with, and then air, like the air you breathe, and then like when a doctor looks in your mouth. Put them together and what have you got? Who is this little girl?
Precocious.
Kiera.
He's like, she would make a very suitable wife in about 2 years.
Ew. I know, I was worried this was going to be a thing where he was getting off on this 13-year-old girl flirting with her, so I'm glad she's giving it to him.
Yeah.
I figured that Sister Dono, as a girl, must have once been exactly like her.
See? He's already like,
In a patriarchal
romantic.
church. Do you really see that being realistic?
Ugh.
I have no idea, I said. She gave a pained sigh and rolled her eyes. Okay, I'll do it one more time. Listen up, okay? It's key, like the key you open a door with, air like the air you breathe, and like when the doctor looks in your mouth. Put them together and what have you got? I was in no mood for this girl. A pain in the butt? I know. Kiera's mouth dropped open. She turned to the first counselor in the bishopric. Brother Robinson, he just called me a pain in the butt. I'm so bored already.
I think this is the humor that we've been waiting for.
This is the humorous
comedy.
and tender sequel. We knew what it was when we picked it up.
Does Deseret Book have a comedy, like a humor section, a funny section?
We should go.
Yeah.
The first counsellor, a stern, no-nonsense, bald junior high school principal, glared at me. I was just kidding, I said, forcing a chuckle. Someone who's just come back from a mission shouldn't be going around talking like that, Kiera said. To get myself off the hook, I tried to apologise. You're absolutely right, Kiera. What I said was totally wrong and I'm very sorry. It wasn't enough. She leaned over to get the bishop's attention. Bishop, he called me a pain in the butt and he's a returned missionary. The bishop looked at me and shook his head. Why don't we all try to get in the right spirit for our sacrament meeting, he said.
Thank
I'm
you,
with
finally
him.
some
Yeah,
sense.
seriously. But he called me a... The bishop wants us to be quiet now, I scolded her. So take the gum out of your mouth and quit talking.
What the fuck?
The power play with this
is so
13-year-old girl. I'm not
weird.
enjoying it. She scowled at me. You're not my boss. She did take the gum out of her mouth, though, wrapped it in a tissue and put it in her scripture case. She then looked over her talk. It was 2 pages long and typed. You're telling me that a girl who is this defiant of the patriarchy is also incredibly enthusiastic about giving talks in church?
It's not, yeah, it
There's
doesn't
no
check
way.
out.
I glanced over it. It wasn't that bad. Actually, I wished I had her talk. You seem really well prepared for your talk, I said. She nodded. My sister helped me. Her name is Sierra. Let me guess. Think of sea, think of air, and then like when a doctor looks in your mouth, right? She
Ciara.
shushed me. Ciara. We're supposed to be quiet now so we can get ready for sacrament meeting. How long is your talk? I asked. 5 minutes, I timed it. Can you make it longer? Why would I want to do that? She asked. My talk isn't very long. I showed her my 3x5 card.
Oh, is he gonna do... It's such a righteous flex to not even really talk about your mission. Just be like, you know what, God just really loves us.
Yeah. Don't tell any stories. Just, that's what I would do.
I was here
That's
for the
totally
gospel.
What I would do. I was literally thinking that earlier. I'm like, it's the most socially powerful thing you can do in this situation is not talk about your successes. Maybe talk about your failures and like be like, here's what I learned from them.
The example of someone else.
Yeah. She read out loud what was on the card. My talk. Mission, New Jersey. She stared at me. That's it? That's your whole talk? You should have had my sister help you. She's a junior and she's very smart. She's over there. Why do I feel like he's going to marry her?
Oof.
She pointed to a spectacular-looking girl who, like Kiera, had long blonde hair and blue eyes. Thank God, because we know that's the only type.
That's his type.
I was happy to know that...
Did he say spectacular?
Yeah, a spectacular-looking girl.
A junior in high school or a junior in college?
I think college, because it says, I was happy to know that Sierra was a junior. That will make her the same age as me. I know what Jack's about to do. I wondered if she was going to BYU, where I'd be in the fall. I feel like it's gonna be a twist that she's a junior. Is it crazy for me to think that Jack would pull off a twist? But like,
oh, that she's gonna be a junior in high school.
Yeah. Just because I feel like the fact that Jack was like,
gonna be
I was happy
comedic
to know
relief?
that she was a junior, and she,
Yeah.
must have been going to BYU. I just feel like
God,
it's
if
too
so, that's
obvious.
the worst. Oh.
It was a huge relief when sacrament meeting began. After the sacrament was over, while the choir sang, I worried about what Kiera might say about me in her talk. You don't need to tell everyone in your talk about what I said to you, okay? I'll say whatever I want to say. Please don't ruin this for my family, I pleaded. Everyone's here, my mum, my dad, my grandparents. Oh, but not the grandparents from New Jersey, sorry.
Yeah.
You should have thought about that before you swore at me. I didn't swear at you, Kiera.
I feel like they would be the type to fly out for that.
I know, I was kind of thinking that.
Jack was just like,
But
done.
things are weird because remember Lara
yeah.
was it Lara's fault? Lara pushed them out of the family?
That is Jack
Is that what we've deduced that the narrative is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they outright said it, even though it was
as if with your
sad.
grandkid, we'd be like, they just stopped calling and we sort of backed off. Like, yeah, right. If that was your grandkid, no way. A short time later, Kiera got up to speak. This morning when I sat down, Adam Roberts, who just got off his mission, called me a pain in the butt. Everyone laughed, which was not the reaction she wanted. And so to drive her point home, she turned and glared at me. You're not setting a very good example, especially for a returned missionary. If this is how you act in church, then what are you like the rest of the time? You know what? I don't think you're a very good missionary. She turned to face the congregation. I will now give my talk. I kind of respect it, the chaotic evil of it. I'm like, good for you. I avoided eye contact with my parents, especially my mum. She liked things to be done a certain way, and this wasn't the way. I just feel like everyone wouldn't even side with the little girl, though. I just feel like they'd be like, she's clearly crazy. Like, they generally don't believe little girls are over return missionaries. I didn't think my dad would mind as much. He never did. My mother was always the one who was upset about the small things that I would do that she thought were either wrong or appropriate. Yeah, your dad's probably just so hands-off with his parenting, he doesn't even care about you enough to have an opinion on what you do either way. Mm-hmm. Exactly 5 minutes and 40 seconds later, Kiera sat down. It was my turn. I had 30 minutes. I stood up and began. I just got back from serving a mission to the New Jersey Morristown mission. I paused. I learned a great deal from my mission. At that point, panic set in. In the congregation, Sierra, the older sister, was looking at me, but as the silence continued, out of politeness, she dropped her gaze and opened her scriptures. My parents and grandparents were all smiling nervously, willing me to go on. It does sound scary how, like, if you're a Mormon, there's just so much, like, social stuff you have to do as a Mormon teenage boy, like, aka going on the mission and knocking doors, and then, like, just the fact that everyone in Mormonism is expected to give talks, and that's, like, really panic-inducing for a lot of people. It's a lot to put on people as, like, an expectation, because public speaking is terrifying.
One of people's primary fears.
Yeah. Behind me on the stand, Kiera tried in her own way to help me. Don't just stand there. Tell them what you learned on your mission. Nothing came to mind. Say something, Kiera demanded. On my mission, I learned that... I sighed. That if the only reason you're on a mission is to impress your family and you want to end up as a district leader or a zone leader so your family will be proud, then you're not there for the right reason. The best thing is just do your best in whatever situation you're put in, no matter how hard it is. Like if you have a bad companion, for example. No matter what, your job as a missionary is to... I quit talking. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but because what I wanted to say was too close to my heart, and I needed to try to say it without getting too emotional. A tear slid down my cheek.
Oh my god, a Jack Wayland male character having an emotion?
Did Sam even cry when Charlie died? I don't know if that was written about. I had always been embarrassed for guys who lose it while giving a talk in church. A single tear, and he's like, oh, they've lost
the plot.
Absolutely lost it. Now I was one of them. But when women cry, it's like, oh, yeah, she's so spiritual. I wiped my cheek. I want to talk to the young men in the ward about when you go on your mission. Your calling as a missionary is to represent the Savior to everyone you talk to. If you focus on that, then nothing else matters, because every conversation you have with every person you meet is really important. I never held a leadership position on my mission, and I didn't have that many baptisms, and my last few months were tough, but none of that matters now. What matters is that I know that Jesus Christ is our Savior and Redeemer, and He loves every person. That's what I learned. Powerful stuff.
You learned that. I bet he said it a million times before then, too,
so
though.
Like, how did you learn it? You
just really, really, even more so.
Just entrenched yourself deeper in the cult. I cleared my throat. On my mission, I had the chance to teach my grandparents the gospel. You might not know this, but my dad, when he was about my age, married a girl from back east. Her name was Charlene, but everyone called her Charlie. Her dad was transferred out here by his company, and she was a convert to the church. She died when I was about a year old, and sometime after that, her folks moved back to New Jersey. I was able to look them up and got a chance to teach them the missionary lessons. After I was transferred, they were baptized. Getting to know them and having them become members of the church was one of the best experiences on my mission. I also got a chance to learn about my mum, my real mum. I really hate the phrase "my real mum." I feel like it's been out of vogue for a while now, and like no one would ever say that. They might say like my adopted mum or like my biological mum, but like my real mum, when like the woman who's like raised you as her son,
delivering food on a train to you.
Yeah, I just think it's a slap in the face. I don't know how to say this because the truth is the only mum I've ever known is sitting right there. Oh, that's nice. Okay. I pointed to Lara. But the one who gave me life, well, I got to know more about her from my New Jersey grandparents. I found out that she was really wonderful, so learning about her was good. And I came to really love my other grandparents as much as I love the ones who are here today. This is just all so shallow. Like, this is all... I chuckled. It's just a recap of what we've already read, so it's like so boring. So
Which
like,
was a recap of what we had already read.
Exactly. It's just,
this is the worst. This is so bad.
there's only 7 types of sentences in a Jack Whalen novel. Like, there's only ever 7 types of sentences.
Wait, I'm sorry. This is just too much.
Do you need it?
It's just that the whole first of the book was like being like, let me tell you what Charlie book 1 was all about.
I know.
Except reframed for a new...
And now he's like telling us more we don't get. I chuckled. One thing I found out that I'd never known before is that my dad, before he married my real mum, got arrested in New York City for disturbing the peace. Can you believe that about my dad? I guess what happened was my dad and, well, Charlie is what they called her, they had an argument once she was living there. This is an unhinged missionary return tour. This is really like, this kid's gone off the rails.
The shepherd's crook or whatever. Pull him off.
She got so mad at him she went back east. So my dad went out there and tried to patch things up. And I guess he must have flipped out or something. He was so crazy about this girl. My mum's face was frozen into a polite smile. Yeah, that's rough. This is rough. I feel really bad for Lara.
Yeah, poor Lara.
Anyway, my dad got arrested. They told him they'd let him go if he promised never to come back. So I was thinking...
She's already miserable at this point, right? Like, she's not having a happy life at this point.
No. This is like 21 years into being with Sam, so...
and yeah.
God.
Now her baby boy is here after so much time.
Mini Sam.
And boy, is he sucking.
Boring as shit. So I was thinking, maybe his name and picture are on the wall of some police station even to this day. A couple of people laughed, but my mum closed her eyes and lowered her head. Dad was just staring at me without any expression. To be fair, that's his regular face. I don't think. But you know, it's okay. I can understand how something like that could happen.
Sam is just over there thinking about all the women who need to lose weight in the ward. He's like not even.
I chuckled again. It's just really weird to me to think of my dad being handcuffed and taken away by the police. I could see people starting to squirm a bit, and it got very quiet in the chapel. Then when it occurred to me that I was maybe making my talk just a little too interesting, I decided I didn't want to talk anymore about my mission. So I read 3 or 4 scriptures that had come to mean a great deal to me, bore my testimony, and sat down. I think that's for the best, Adam. We got out of sacrament meeting early, which made everyone happy. Right after the meeting ended, Kiera hurried over to talk to her older sister, who gave her a hug. I couldn't hear what Kiera was telling her, but it was easy to imagine. I guess the little brat was describing in great detail how messed up I was. My family and I went home for dinner. Sometimes it's hard to tell if my mum is mad or just very busy. That is Mormon women. That makes sense. This was one of those times. Oh, my back kills sitting on this bed.
We need
a new setup.
Yeah, we need a studio.
And I might need a little piece of chocolate.
Oh my god, if you have a little nibble to spare.
Oh, bitch, I got you.
Yes. We're so brave.
We're
oh my
so
god, wow.
I know. Yeah. It's like a vegan American bounty. For anyone who knows that reference.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have a lounge.
We need gamer chairs. We really do. Alright,
so... snack situation.
Yeah, what you guys snacking on? Also, we're definitely doing tiramisu for the finale.
Yeah.
What did we do for the finale? Did we do anything for the sound finale?
I don't think so. I think we're like, damn, that sucked. We didn't have a funeral or anything. You don't really want to celebrate their wedding because you're like, that sucks.
Okay, can you guys please advise us? We don't know what to do with the main channel lately, and we really want to read another book, like, you know, this kind of thing, but something that's maybe not Mormon, so we can get a little bit further away from that genre, at least for that series. If you guys have any suggestions, please leave them below. Like, anything that is like kind of like something that people know of, but we don't want it to be it needs to be something that's like very roastable, so like, but not necessarily non-fiction, but sometimes with just like pure bad fantasy, it's kind of hard to, I don't know. Anyway, if you guys have any suggestions.
Not this, but Ben Shapiro's book, something like that.
Yeah, something that, it would be only horrifying to get political like that.
Only because the Behind the Bastards guy did it so good, and I wouldn't even want to try it.
I haven't heard it.
It's phenomenal. I mean, the book sucked so bad.
Like something, maybe Christian. Mum, can I help you do anything? I asked, even though both my grandmothers were already working beside her. I think we have things pretty much in control, Adam, but if you want to do something, how about filling up the water glasses? Sure, I can do that. I went to the cupboard and got a pitcher and filled it with water. She caught me looking at her and knew what it meant. I'm not upset with you, Adam. I guess I shouldn't have told him about Dad being picked up in New York. It wouldn't have been what I'd have said in a sacrament meeting talk, but I'm sure we'll all survive. She broke into a grin. The scandal of it all. I felt more relaxed that she could smile about it and went about filling the water glasses in the dining room. My grandparents didn't say much about my talk, which wasn't a good sign. Can you read for a while so I can eat this candy bar?
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go get a drink of water. Stat.
Well, this has a recessed mood powder in it, but you can drink some.
I'll get some in a minute. Thank you.
And I did clean my straw today.
Oh, nice.
That changes your answer.
No, that's not.
Usually if someone offers me that hydro flask, I'm like, absolutely the fuck not. I maintain a very high standard of cleanliness in my hydro flask.
You've got moss growing in that thing, all grown from your intestines.
I don't trust anyone else's water bottles.
Yeah, no. A few minutes later, we were ready to sit down and eat. Is this where we're at?
It's the first time we've read.
Yeah.
Ever.
My first time with a book. My mom had set an honorary place for Quentin, who was on his mission.
Who the fuck's Quentin?
Elijah?
An honorary place.
That's so weird. You know how, like, they'll do the cardboard cutouts of people, and it's like, you were here with us. It's like just have them not be there. Like, they don't have to be there, and everyone has to be there for everything.
I know, it's kind of showing your trauma that you feel the need to do that. But also, just...
It is sometimes funny, don't get me wrong.
I just can't... We'll probably talk about this in a main channel video today, but Sister Nelson and President Nelson having
cardboard... Oh my god, the cardboard cutouts!
In case you don't know, they're doing life-size cutouts of President and Sister Nelson for this, like, LDS young people devotional that you can take selfies with.
Take selfies with cardboard cutouts, hashtag.
Cringe! At least do Jesus.
LDS prof over here.
Do Jesus. Like, it's so weird to do that.
Oh my god. Selfie Jesus. We should set one up. We should fundraise a cardboard cutout of Jesus that you can take pictures with.
We should fundraise paying our rent.
That's the big one.
We just lost $3.
At the end of every month, I'm like, shit.
Thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, you guys have saved my life time and time again. All right. So they're making Grandma sit out back so that Quentin's seat will be saved. Just before we had a blessing on the food, she read a letter from Quentin. Apparently, his mission president was amazed at how quickly he was picking up the language. They say Finnish is probably the most difficult foreign language to learn, my mom told us. Should I stop? I feel very sing-songy. I'll try to chill.
I mean, I've obviously been able to hone my delivery over 3 seasons,
yeah,
so don't expect to be
pro.
where I'm at.
Well, the fact that he's brilliant doesn't surprise me, my grandfather on my mom's side said.
Thanks for the detail. It really seems relevant.
There's got to be a better way. Let's just get some names. Look at the genes he's got. Is he the one named White? I'm just curious.
Wait, hang on a minute. So these are Laura and Sam's kids, I'm realizing. That's who Quentin is. Okay.
Oh.
Is the next book Quentin?
He grows up to be Quentin R. Cook.
Who decides
Quentin
not
L.
to
Cook.
go decides not to go on a mission because he gets on American Idol.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. Is that someone, Quentin Cook? Is that from American Idol?
No, I was just thinking of like a David Archuleta storyline because I'm like, how else would he evolve? This doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm high.
I smiled faintly, trying my best not to look hurt. Quentin's genes were different from my genes because we had different mothers.
Oh shit! I mean, I don't think that was the point that was being made.
Unless he's already sensitive about Quentin being the hotter one.
Yeah, but you have a hotter mom, so just like be grateful, you know.
He's very aware of that.
But Laura has always been trim, Tana.
Always.
So.
That's true, I agreed. Quentin is very smart. I'm sure he's an outstanding missionary.
I bet he's not that smart.
And not that outstanding. After my dad said the blessing, and we started to fill our plates, my grandfather on my dad's side asked, "What are you going to do this summer, Adam?" Well, I'm not sure. I haven't really thought about it." "You'll be working for us, won't you?" my mom asked. "I don't know. Like I said, I really haven't thought about it." "Well, we just assumed you'd come back to work with us again," my mom said. I probably will. I just haven't thought about it. This is so boring.
So boring.
We have a family business and we need family support, my mom said. Quentin helped us out when you were on your mission. Now it's your turn to help him. At least that's the way I see it. What is this? Jimmy fucking Stewart?
Bored,
is this?
bored.
This is 2001? You gotta...
2004.
This was a trope in black and white movie days.
I'm like, go and break the law of chastity with Sister Janelle. Like, something needs to happen because I'm getting furious. My grandfather on my dad's side, my grandfather on my mum's side. It's like, there's no discernible difference between the characters. It truly doesn't matter. There's no need to, like, add that weight. And people aren't just, like, processing every single time.
Also, are the mom's side grandparents? Oh,
Laura's parents,
that's right.
Yeah.
We'd
Very
love
grandparent privileged is Adam.
A quiver full of grandmas.
Oh, very trim. Aerobics 6 times a week.
Let me take some time this week to look for a job, and if I don't find anything, then I'll work for you guys. We'd love to have you, but we'll support whatever decision you make, my dad said. We'll just judge it secretly and send you an email about it. Thanks, I said.
What was the point of that scene?
Literally nothing. Isn't
There's
that
no
like the thing of
conflict.
writing is like everything should move the plot forward in some way? Are you excited to go to BYU in the fall? My mom asked. Yeah, I am. Have you looked at the classes I signed you up for?
Classic.
No, I haven't. Classic. You can still make changes if you want, but of course, the freshman year is pretty much laid out. I paused, not knowing if I should admit that I wasn't sure I wanted to major in information systems. Of course, it made the most sense in terms of my...
drama! He doesn't want to do IT like his daddy!
Even though he's the exact same character. In terms of my dad's company, but even so, I wanted some time to think about other possible careers.
How much do you want to bet though that like the other thing he ends up doing is something equally boring and stupid? It's not going to be like, I want to be in a rock band.
It's like, I want to build microwaves.
Yeah. It's like, I want to do business.
For years, my dad had a business that sets up websites for small... We know. We're big fans. We're maybe his only fans. We're maybe his only...
We were early investors of soundtracks. We lost a lot of money.
Uh-huh.
We should have played the long game.
For years, my dad has business that set up websites. He's been the only salesman, so he was on the road a lot. Quit. Traveling salesman. Do you think he ever had an affair?
Yes. Absolutely.
Quentin and I had always stayed in the office, cranking out websites.
Yeah, right.
I bet you were cranking.
Yeah. Cranking out websites.
They are cranking out them websites, mostly for one-person companies.
Cool. Thanks
for
the
people.
info.
My mom was the office manager, which hadn't always been the best for our mother-son relationship because at work, she demanded perfection. At home, total slob, didn't care.
Sent me food on a train. It was tight.
Here's the kind of small businesses we serve. No, it doesn't matter. On a fly fishing trip to Strawberry Reservoir when I was in high school, my dad stopped at a bait shop in Heber City to buy some flies. What? We're not even. You're not even just gonna be like a bait shop. We're gonna get the whole background story to how he met this client just because you can't think of how to move the plot forward in any meaningful way.
Seriously, it's offensive how filler this chapter feels.
Oh. While there,
I'd rather just do like 1 year later. You know, just none of this feels...
Just keep jumping.
Yeah.
Every chapter is a year of Sam's life.
Yeah,
or
you
whoever.
don't even need to do linear time. Like, I would accept anything.
Go back into Charlie. I don't care.
Seriously, just like jump right back in, never explain it. What was the homesteading like?
He's like, actually, this reminds me about something that happened to my mother I heard about, and then 3 chapters later, we're just getting Charlie background. I'm here for that. Give me that.
Yeah, whatever.
But instead, we're getting his dad's clients at his computer job. Since we mainly he stopped to buy some flies. While there, he talked the owner into getting a website, and now this man sells his hand-tied flies to fishermen around the world. Since we've mainly catered to small businesses, what we're doing was below the radar screen from other website companies, so we filled a niche without fear of being made obsolete.
What?
When the economy was good...
What does that mean? Like, it was like such an innovative idea, no one else was doing it?
Nobody was building companies for just individual small businesses. It was only for big businesses. When the economy was good, our business was great. No kidding.
I love when Jack talks economics.
And when people were getting laid off, some would start up their own company. And as we could find them, they signed on too.
I love how Republicans think that, like, the economy's down, we've been laid off, better start a business, as if that's, like, a feasible way to make money in a crisis.
Me firing you is actually a blessing for you. Now you can go start your little business.
I could build my way back up to millionaire from a lemonade stand if I needed to.
If I had to. I've done it once before. I had worked for my dad since I was in 9th grade. After school
Child labor. It's like, sounds like that they're doing the bulk of the work of this company. They got, like, unpaid, well, they were paid, but, like, you got kids building websites, which, first of all, how were they getting trained back in 2004 or whenever this would have been?
And we know for sure that Salmon is not spending time with his children.
No, he's just putting them to work.
Which I guess is why you have kids, is so that they can work on your farm. And
I just feel like back then, only people with, like, master's degrees in computer science could even, like, build a basic website. Like, the information there was no WordPress.
In the dark ages, 2001. My job was to sit in front of a computer and churn out websites. Answering, oh my god, is this how we're gonna get in? Is there really gonna be a porn thing? He's just been working on computers? Actually, I heard my parents say that once. They were like, well, he does work with computers.
Oh my god!
Like, you know, people who work with computers tend to have a problem.
I guess in recent weeks I've been like, no, this isn't gonna turn into a porn thing. There's no way. I just thought that we maybe had all, like, someone had just said it once and we'd all, like, believed it. Mm. I can't actually, like, handle it if this is going to go... Like, I want it to happen, because I want to see how that's going to play out. Oh, just keep reading. I'm back in the game.
Answering questions from computer novices about mostly simple things that any 15-year-old would know. Before I left on my mission, I had gotten very good at designing websites, and Quentin was behind me.
You've said.
But with him gone, Mom and Dad didn't have anyone to do the technical stuff. That's why they were so anxious for me to come home and come back to work. That's exactly what they told us in the dialogue a page ago. My mom had made me my favorite dessert for the occasion, chocolate cake. She doesn't know about your tiramisu, our little secret. Decadent.
That the grandparents she tried to keep you away from made you. Chocolate cake is a decent best dessert choice. I don't fault that.
Sure. She cut me the first piece, and after setting it in front of me, kissed me on the cheek and said, "Welcome home, Adam."
Feels manipulative. It's the business thing, isn't it?
Like, you are my favorite employee.
There's one thing we know about Lara, it's that she's a cutthroat businesswoman.
She is.
She would do she is like a Kris Jenner type. Of course she's kissing him on the cheek.
Oh yeah. Gotta keep the employees happy.
You gotta cry when one of your kids gets engaged so they don't believe you're a human.
Yep. Thanks, Mom. After we finished eating, we all went into the living room to talk. As we were finding seats, my mom said, "It's such a small world. You know the Elder Russell you worked with? You know that Elder Russell you worked with?" Sergeant Russell was, of course, my last companion. Or as I used to think of him, my last warden. Ha! Sure, what about him? I guess he's riding a girl in our stake. Her name is Melissa Hutton. I ran into her mother at the store the other day, and she told me he has written Melissa to say you were companions. Really? What did he say? I don't know, but her mother said Melissa knew all about you.
Oh, God.
Knowing that Russell would write about me, I had a sinking feeling that before long my mom would be told by the mother of Russell's girlfriend that I'd been a slacker on my mission,
really,
and that I tried to romance a sister missionary. There are so many cute girls who are just dying to spend time with you, my mom went on. Name one.
Yeah, name one single
Sister
one.
Deneau, who was only that way because she was in a cult mission trip.
And she was a huge bitch.
Really? Who? We're all dying to know. Oh, girls in the ward who have grown up since you've been gone, and some others in the stake.
Who have grown up since you've been gone, as in, like, they've turned 18.
Yeah.
Ew.
I mean, it sounds like... Well, I know a lot of them have been anxious for you to get home. Didn't you know how many were in sacrament meeting today? Sounds like you're gonna be busy, Adam, Grandpa White said, giving me a big wink. I'm so perverted. I saw Big Twink.
We got
I'm
you
like,
something.
contradiction, much, Jack.
I need another snack.
Oh, will you send me a glass of water on a little train?
Yes.
Sounds like you're gonna be very busy, Adam, Grandpa White said, giving me a big wink. I didn't want to talk about girls or Elder Russell, so I decided to draw my dad out. Dad, how's the business going?
Oh, God, please, no more.
He smiled, presumably for the first time in his life.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going very well. You remember Bateman Bob and Heber? You set up his website before your mission. Right. Well, we're expanding that now. We're going to set up one site that will bring together all the best fly tyers in the world. I'll be flying out Thursday to an international fly tying convention.
This is so painful.
Uh-huh.
Get back to the porn addiction.
I hope to get as many people as I can to sign on to a part of this website.
Wait,
So if those-
what?
I hope to get as many people as I can to sign on to a part of this website.
What does that mean? Is this an MLM?
I guess they're going to buy shares. So if this goes through, you're going to have plenty of work to do. Jax beat me here. I don't know if that's how business works, but it doesn't sound right, but I don't know either.
Like, something's off, but it could be just completely legit. Sign on to a part of this website, though?
What does that mean?
Like, a website is just like a
like-
piece of advertising. Do you know what I'm saying?
Or is it a location? Maybe like just sign up.
Oh, like
Buy
different
things.
companies want to be featured on the website.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. So people
It's
who...
people who share the hobbies who are presumably going to be. They're all flight. I don't know. I don't want to.
Just tell us your best guess. Doesn't really matter. Let's assume it's a non-point.
If having baptizing your grandparents isn't like part of the main shtick, this fly thing,
Surely this fly fishing
such a
website.
waste of time. Jack, new low. So if this goes through, you're gonna have plenty of work to do. That sounds great, Dad. After my grandparents left, my mom asked if she could speak with me. Sure, what's up? Let's go outside.
Uh-oh.
She gave me a tour of the garden and asked me if I could do some weeding and rake up the dead leaves from under our bushes in the next few days. Already getting him back to work.
I know, I hate
It'd be like that.
I'm like, you need a full month to have no expectations, just completely process what just happened to you.
There's something else. Okay. I'm glad you got to meet your mother's, Charlie's parents. How was it? I mean, getting to know them. Did they tell you a lot about her? Yeah, he said that in his talk, and probably he was writing home, right? Like, Laura and I hardly ever talked about my birth mother. Like, he would call her Laura.
Laura. You were one.
It feels like it's just Jack's misogyny coming through.
I know.
Laura and I hardly ever talked about my birth mother. I had been so young when Charlie died, and Laura had been the only mother I had ever known. But from what Claire and Eddie had told me, I knew Laura had been sensitive about her role as a replacement mom. Again, it wasn't Laura, it was totally her dad who moved them to the Midwest so that they wouldn't be around her parents. Something told me I needed to be careful about what I might say. Yeah, they did. I never met her, of course. Your father and I met after she died. But apparently, she was one of those people who everyone loves. I couldn't imagine what that's like.
I feel like this is just like Jack's inability to reckon with how a woman could be mature
Reality.
about this, because I just don't get the sense that like decades later Laura would have this like resentment that Charlie was so perfect.
I
Like,
know.
as like what, a 22-year-old?
Still just so jealous.
Yeah. But he's not able to understand the bond between a boy who's been raised by this non-biological mother his whole life. He just writes about it as if it's like she was a babysitter.
But apparently she was one of those people who everyone loves. That's what her parents said. I wanted to ask something, but wasn't sure how my mom would take it. After hesitating, I said, "Why haven't you and Dad told me more about her?" Again,
Valid.
she didn't know her, not on her.
Yep. Good point. Thank you, Tanner. Thank you. Never met the woman.
She shook her head. Maybe we should have. I just felt that, well, I'm your mom, and I didn't want to confuse you. I nodded. That makes sense. She gave me a sad little smile, then drew me into a hug. I don't mind if you think about her, as long as you also remember how much I love you. Is this polyamorous?
Polyamory for mothers. Well, you better get good at it now. It's not going to get any easier.
Okay, I'll do that. On Monday, I tried to find a job, but didn't run into anything I really wanted to do. After a couple hours, I quit.
White men to run into things they want to do.
After a couple hours, I quit looking and went home. I grabbed some cookies and took a swig of milk right out of the carton from the fridge. Is that shared milk? Because if so, bad move. I knew it was something that drove my mom crazy, but hey, old habits die hard.
Hey, I get it.
Just immediately back on his bullshit. Then I changed clothes and went out to do some yard work after he was like, I know I need to be sensitive around her. I'm just going to do all the things that piss her off. I was raking up dead leaves when someone called out, "Hi!" It was Sierra.
I knew it
Kiara's
was gonna
older
be
sisters
Sierra.
from
I
the
knew
next
it.
door. She was standing on her patio, waving and smiling. "Hi yourself," I said.
Nice.
She walked toward the low fence between our yards. "Great talk yesterday." This is just not real. This
No.
isn't real.
No. Like, hot girls just pop up once you're back from your mission. Hi!
He does not have, like, approach me, I'm a hot find energy at all. Great talk yesterday, she said with a teasing grin, showing off some very white teeth, and confirming she was as good looking as I thought when I saw her from the stand. I didn't even fall asleep. "Are you here so I can apologize for what I said about Kiara?" "I can do it. In fact, bring your whole family over. I'd be happy to apologize to each and every one, together or one at a time. I can also grovel, too. Hey, whatever you guys want." She laughed. "Look, you don't worry about it. I'm on your side. Kiara can be a pain in the butt. So
And
you
you're
were right
focusing.
about that." "You can say that here when she's not around. Try saying it sitting next to her sometime just before sacrament meeting is about to begin. That separates the men from the boys." She laughed. Everything is so funny, apparently.
So easy to make good jokes as a woman, man.
She laughed. "Which one of those two are you?" I gave her a weak smile. "Very good. Pour it on. Show no mercy." Don't be so self-conscious, okay? Everyone in the ward understands why you'd say what you said about Kiara. She's
That's
just
nice.
a little brat. Everyone knows it. "So if you didn't come to get an apology, why are you here?" I hate this. Is exactly the same energy. Jack can really only write one character, and it's just the one who's always just like, "Fine, crucify me. Okay, you're here to murder me. Fine, I'll lay down in front of the road, in front of the tractor. Get me, kill me, flay me alive."
Aren't these so good?
Uh-huh. "So if you didn't come to get an apology, why are you here?"
For sex, obviously.
To find an eternal spouse and have children and progeny forever."
Who, like, really marries people from their home ward? I don't know. It just seems so cringe to marry someone you, like, grew up with. No offense to some of you who have had a situation that works for you, but just, like, in general, it just creeps me out, the idea of a Mormon coming back to their ward where they grew up with every single person and, like, dating the 18-year-old girl who was, like, 15 when they left or something. I don't know.
"Why you're so developed." That's the energy.
Who said that?
It's
Oh,
just-
right.
"That was so nice of you. Now let me help you. What would you have been doing instead of mowing our lawn?" "Raking up leaves." "I'll help you then," she offered. "You don't
Women
have to."
just fall into these bog standard, boring ass characters' laps. Hot women, they just like fall into their laps.
Yeah. Again, Jack isn't the best at writing what he knows. Why? Just for fun." She looked at me and smiled. She had a very winning smile.
We know.
I raked while she stuffed the leaves into the bags. "So tell me more about your mission." "There isn't much to tell, except I ended my mission with everyone thinking I was a very good missionary." "How come?" I told her about my grandparents and about Deneau getting me transferred. "She got you transferred because she had a dream about you? That's not fair."
Wait, did you meant to say that I wasn't a very good missionary? Yeah.
He said I wasn't a very
Everyone
good
thinking I
missionary.
wasn't a very good missionary.
Everyone thinking that he wasn't.
I know, but I
very
think
good-
you said was, so
Okay.
I was confused.
Gotcha.
I was like, wow,
You know,
he's going
everyone
with that
thought he
approach.
was a shit missionary, and they were right.
And he was one of the ones who thought it.
Yeah. It doesn't matter now. I'm over it. She laughed. I can tell. When I got transferred, my new companion was told I was a problem elder, so he treated me like his prisoner. He never gave me a chance to do anything. I was the designated junior companion. I just followed him around.
This doesn't seem very winning for getting women, you know? Just like, yeah, I was bossed around.
And but of course it's gonna work. This is so dumb.
Can I read again? I just feel like I can keep track of what's happening easily.
I know, this is the most I've ever followed any of these books.
It really makes you realize like how needless basically all of it is, but you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
You poor guy, that must have been so hard for you. It was. She put her hand on my arm. Sometimes when things aren't going the way we'd like, that's the biggest test we ever face. That reminds me of in this week's episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, one of, they're at an egg farm and like one of Khloe Kardashian's friends is like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And then Khloe Kardashian is like, yeah, that's so crazy. She was like, it's like as if it was just the deepest thing in the world. She's like, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Like she's sitting in Philosophy 101
I wish I could remember
as
the
a
exact
freshman in
words she
college,
said.
like, damn, trolleys really do be out there having problems.
I'm proud of you for not giving up. I looked at her. Her eyes really were a great shade of blue. You know what? I can't remember the last time anyone said they were proud of me. What about your grandparents? They showered you with praise. Well, I guess I need to spend more time with you. You're smart, you're a nice guy, and you go out of your way to help someone in need, like I was when I couldn't start the mower.
Certainly there's already a name for this phenomenon of like an incel type guy who plays just, is it just like soft boy energy of just like, everybody hates me and I'm just having a rough time and such a martyr, and like trying to get women to pity him into love, you know?
It's a huge thing, because like women like do find fulfillment in being nurturing, like a lot of them at least. Like I know I do.
No one's told me I'm proud. Okay, mommy issues much? Sort that
It's
out.
kind of like how this is, like when me and Jared are at Cara and Aaron's house, if Callahan's crying, like the 2-year-old, my instinct is to be like, oh, how can I help? Like I want to go in. And then the other day, Callahan was crying and Cara said to Jared, oh, do you want to go in and see him? And Jared was like, no, I don't want to see him like that. Let him have his dignity. Like Jared's instinct if a baby is crying is to be like, I don't know, I don't want. I just feel like women often have this like, you just feel like you need to run towards the person who needs to be nurtured.
Aww.
Which is a beautiful masculine feminine dance a lot of times.
Yeah.
But in this situation, I hate it. She paused. And you're not too bad looking either. I also think it's a patriarchy phenomenon. You know, it's like what determines this guy's social value isn't that he's like funny or interesting, or maybe he's meant to be handsome because he's the son of those two. But like, he doesn't have to have a good personality. We know that from all the other books. It's just about being like a good priesthood holder. And he's finished his mission. So like he's done the thing and now he's in demand and all the girls are going to want him. Just by virtue of him submitting to the patriarchy, then they submit to him. That's the way it works, right?
Keys all the way down.
And you're not too bad looking either. I couldn't help but think this might have possibilities for the future. You're a junior, right? Do you go to BYU? I'll be there in the fall. She hesitated for a second and then said, my dad works for the University of Utah, so where do you think I go to school? Makes sense. I think she's in high school. I really do.
I think she might, ew.
And I still think he could marry her. What will you be doing this summer? She asked. I guess I'll work for my dad. She invited me to have lunch with her at her place. We talked while she made sandwiches, then we ate on her patio. After we finished, I stood up and said, I'd better go. Thanks for a great day. It was a great day for me, too. You know, this did feel like the most kind of normal date we've read about in a Jack Whalen novel. Like, it was just like, do you want to come over and I'll make lunch? And like, so there's something kind of normal about it.
And surprising, he actually only had nice things to say about her. Usually it's like, she's totally, she's definitely beautiful, but honestly kind of a bitch and has like a weird thing about her that I will change by the end of the book.
But this time he's like,
she has a free spirit that I will
teeth.
break.
She came very close and looked up at me. You want to do something tonight? She asked. Yeah, sure, that would be great. This is for being such a help for me to me today. She gave me a hug. It was just her way of showing appreciation. Unfortunately, though, it occurred just as Kiera got home. She saw us through the kitchen window, then opened the sliding door and came outside. All right, what's going on? Nothing, Sierra said, smiling. That's not true, you two were hugging. I was just thanking him for mowing the lawn, Sierra said, holding my arm. You shouldn't be hugging my sister. I didn't hug her, she hugged me. You were hugging back, and that's not right because she's still in high school.
Okay, she's got an actual vibe check thing going on.
She's still in high school.
She's still in high school?
Did you miss that?
Oh my god!
You're way too old for her. The truth teller! Every family needs a Kiera.
Jack! Jack! Jesus!
God, just write a normal character who's not 17. My mouth dropped open. You're still in high school? I asked Sierra. I'll be a junior. In high school? Yes, but so she's 15 then, roughly.
Oh my god, Jack.
Yes, but I'm very mature for my age. You told me you were a junior at the
He's
University
like,
of Utah.
That's what they said about Nancy Rigdon, so
I was like, well, the heart wants what it wants. I'm already in this, so.
Helen Marr looked old enough, so
I know, right? I didn't exactly say that, she paused, but I guess I did want you to think I was in college. Why would you do that? Because you'd never even want to talk to me if you knew I was in high school. Also, though, it's like, he clearly didn't pick up on any kind of maturity issues for him, a 21-year-old man, being with a 15-year-old girl. I'm tired of high school guys. They're so immature. Maybe you can help them become more responsible. She shook her head. Look, I don't want much from you. Maybe if we could just talk once in a while, that's all.
Oh my god, if this becomes a thing, I'm gonna flip all in.
If this is a plot line of, like, them overcoming... No.
Jack?
I think this is... Jack does a few, like, false starts to make us...
Does.
He always, like... It's always, like, the third girl, right?
Yeah. Rule of threes. Jack's never kept it.
No, the rules, you can break the rules. What would we talk about? I don't know. Whatever you want. Kiera shook her head. I don't think you should spend time with someone who goes around saying I'm a pain in the butt. Sierra scowled at her. That's what you're being now, Sierra said. Sorry, guys. Hey, I know, let's shoot baskets, Kiera suggested. Just an ADHD little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we did. We played horse until supper time. To be perfectly honest, it was the most fun I'd had since leaving for my mission. Even Kiera warmed up to me. Later that night, right after we finished eating dinner, my mum asked me to tell her about Sister Deneau. That's when I knew the mother of the girl who was writing to Elder Russell had talked to my mum. That would be infuriating, that chain of, like...
Also, why? That's such a...
I know. By the time we were done talking, I felt like I'd given my parents enough cause for concern since coming home. I didn't want to cause any more problems, so I decided to give in. Oh, another thing, I've decided to work for you guys this summer. My mum burst into a big smile and kissed me on the cheek. That's great, Adam. Not just because we'll be able to work together again, but also because it's so hard to find anyone as good and fast as you are. Don't you feel like if you didn't design websites and, like, keep up with tech for 2 years, though, in, like, the early 2000s, you'd be pretty, like, behind skill-wise when you got back from a Mormon mission?
Yeah. You're like, what even is a blog?
Yeah. Besides, I don't think you can earn better money than what we're going to pay you. In his formal way, my dad shook my hand. He's been doing that since he was, like, a 1-year-old baby. Then we had family prayer and went to bed. But I couldn't sleep. Having been away for 2 years, I felt like I was seeing my family in a new light. It was very clear to me how important my mum was to our family. Most of what I'd been able to accomplish in high school in terms of grades or music or even earlier in scouting was because of my mum. That is, Lara. In the past, I'd never thought much about her not being my real mother because she was the only mum I'd ever known. But now, after learning a little about my birth mother, the one everyone called Charlie... The one everyone called... It's like, that was just her name. You can't keep saying the one everyone called Charlie just because, like, it would be mum to you. It's just a weird
He's
one.
already done it so many times.
No.
Like, we get it. We get that it was we know nicknames are a thing. We're glad that you get that.
Nicknames can be tough. I'd started to wonder what might have happened if my real mum hadn't died. How would I be different?
What if she had gone by Charlene? Would that have changed things?
Or another way of asking the same question, was the tension I felt between Lara and me due to our not really being connected by blood? No, it's just everyone has a mother wound. Everyone has a strained relationship with their mother.
Especially when their mom is their boss.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I got my basic personality from Charlie, and Lara had always tried to make me conform to her way of thinking and doing things. What if all the time I was growing up I was trying to fit into the pattern Lara had chosen for me, but deep inside I was a completely different person? Again, I feel like that's just like a common young person thing to be like, who I am deep inside is not what my family wants me to be and not what I'm like raised to be, because none of us are like as rigid as, like, you know, our upbringing expects us to be.
And, honey, your dad is the problem.
Cannot stress this enough. The mum thing, irrelevant. They both are fine. What if I'm more like my real mum, I thought. Also, I love how they're always like, everyone's gay because they were molested as a kid. Like, they do this, like, it's not nature, it's nurture when it suits them. But then they're like, what if my fundamental personality is genetic? It has nothing to do with the way I was raised. Yeah, what if? It was a question that at that point, I couldn't really answer, but one I couldn't help asking. I knew that my dad could tell me more about what my real mum was like, but I didn't feel comfortable asking him. I'm not getting a sense that he's much like Charlie. He seems just, you know, like Sam, who's kind of like the absurd child.
Yeah, he's just Sam 2.0. Sam beta version.
It's a convenient narrative, you know, again, just like the imagined perfect mother who, yeah. It might seem to him that I didn't appreciate the only mum I'd ever known. Don't get me wrong, I loved Lara. She had always cared for me and loved me. It would be hard to imagine what my life would be like without her. But this wasn't about her. It was more about me and the haunting feeling that maybe I had never been true to who I really was. It's a bad analogy, but it was kind of like a hawk that had been raised by a family of ducks. I just feel, again, is this not how like a lot of Mormon teens feel? Just because of like the pressure of being raised a Mormon kid. There would come a time when he would discover that no matter how hard he tried to swim in the pond, it wasn't who he was. Also, you just know that this isn't going to be any kind of, like, meaningful exploration of identity being... Because he's still going to end up like the perfect Mormon boy who does all the right things, but it's like... He's just, like a bit zanier than he originally thought. But it's like, where's the proof?
Is it going to be... He's going to go too hard trying to have fun and be spontaneous, and it's going to get into trouble, and then it's like, so don't have fun, kids.
That night was when I first began thinking of the only mother I'd ever known as Lara. Oh, that's devastating. He'd thought of her as mum up until this point, and suddenly she's Lara? Like, there's some deep shit there. There's some kind of trauma that he needs to explore.
Well, you know, I bet people... I bet it's very common for, like, my friends who have been adopted. I mean, this is...
No,
it's
I
not
get
like
that
adoption, but it's just like...
It's complicated,
Yeah, you kind of grow up and then you, like... become conscious of those dynamics.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. Lara wasn't my real mum. She wasn't the woman whose genes I carried.
Jack, I don't know if you really want to start getting into genetics. It's going to unravel your whole faith.
I know. Oh, God. And, like, Mormons are so pro-adoption because anti-abortion. And they're like, adoption is this amazing thing. And then it's like, you're kind of just... I'm just worried this isn't going to get resolved again. It's just going to be like, yep, my adopted mother was shit and not my real mother. And then there's not going to be a point where he's like, and then I realized that was just like a false pit stop on the road to realizing this ultimately healthier thing. It's just going to be like...
Jack sets the stage and then is like, actually, I just had a really bad idea and that's a wrap. Let's just wrap this up. Like... No
My real mum's name is Charlie, I thought, just before falling asleep. Damn, so he's processing all this as this, like, secret, almost, like, borderline identity crisis. Well, yeah, identity crisis situation. Mm-hmm. Just because, I guess... I mean, it would be tough, though, because he wasn't told about Charlie. Like, that seems to be a big part of the issue.
Dad.
Yeah.
Not Laura's
but
fault.
It's all about Lara. It's just pitting women against each other.
Exactly.
Lara's never met Charlie. And also, you know, this idea that, like, Lara kept him apart from his grandparents. It's like, again, Sam's responsibility to maintain that relationship, not Lara, the person who's never met Charlie.
Right. Jack.
Disturbing. He's entering waters that I'm just like, I don't like this.
Every time I think Jack will get, like, a little... He's just not. He's just so misogynistic, and it shines through.
Also, earlier, like,
through.
a page before, wasn't he like, I was realizing how much, like, Lara meant to our family. Oof.
Oh, tough.
Tough stuff. Can't wait to see what happens next week. It could go in any direction at this point.
Or nowhere.
We got the storyline with, like, the underage girl. We got the potential porn addiction. We've got the fact that...
Dano sitting in...
Dano
it's gonna be
is
Dano,
home.
Right?
Yeah, I think so. But then, like, what was the point of that scene with, like, the underage girl? Like, you just had a really great day with them.
Jack just thought that would be funny. Junior, wouldn't it be hilarious if
Yeah.
my main
What a-
character was
what a
attracted
hilarious
to an
mix-up.
underage girl and was pursuing her?
It's at least more believable than when, like, the person, like, when they did that contest buying groceries in Charlie and they, like, switched the stickers or something.
That was so dumb. Like, putting shit in his shopping cart.
We have fun. Thank you all for being here. Can't wait to edit this 2-hour video.
All right.
Predictions for next week in the comments. And any other cannoli facts you think we need to know.